Sure. Yeah. Whoa.
Hey Fabian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you. I must say to you, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, out of Firenze.
You're in Italy, right?
Yeah. So when it's normally Singapore 3 p.m. for me, it's now a beautiful 7 o'clock in the morning.
Well, actually, no, we started a bit earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
Didn't we? Now you're there for BTO?
Absolutely. Fantastic show. I have to say, superb.
Do you say Firenze or is it Florence? Are they the same thing?
Yeah, same thing. Firenze is the Italian word for Florence. Yeah.
Okay, so how's BTO?
Fantastic. It was a great event. I liked the way they have set it up. The booth were very creative, the way they set up the booth.
It's a trade show, conference, what is it?
It was different halls with different topics. So you essentially have a 2-day conference of speakers, and then you have the exhibiting area in the middle.
Okay.
So that actually worked super well.
And they invited you as a speaker, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So I was talking about pricing complexities
Okay,
and big data, machine learning.
Now, if I'm on the website for BTO and I click on speakers, I can see Doug Quinby there from Focusrite. So a fellow.
Oh, I met Paulo Pepper.
I was going to ask you, did you meet her?
I met Paulo Pepper.
Do I say her, him, or?
I have no idea. It was in Italian. I just thought it was really cool seeing a robot sit there.
Gender non-conformist, I guess. David, there you are.
Look at that.
There you are.
Hello.
Up there with all of these big hitters. Charlie from TripAdvisor. Did you meet him?
That's not Charlie from TripAdvisor? Oh, yeah, Charlie from TripAdvisor. Sorry, I meant Charlie from Triptease, who also was there. Hi, Charlie.
Well, yeah. If I look down through here, it's quite some. Dr. Des is there. Dr. Des from Book Assist. Did you meet him?
No, I saw Book Assist was quite big down there. Yeah. I met Bruno.
Which Bruno? Castella?
Yeah.
Ah, good.
He launched his new product.
Okay, Bedazzle or Bedazzle?
Bedazzle. Actually, very sleek, very nice.
Is it? Maybe we should feature it next week or the week after.
He's not, I mean, he did so many startups.
Yeah.
He would be a weekly one.
And then Charlie from Triptease.
Yeah.
You know, great guy. Do you remember the original TripAdvisor guy? You know, the commercial they had, it was an American guy.
Okay, yeah.
Who was on TV ads for TripAdvisor. So not TripAdvisor, Trivago. Remember the Trivago guy? Sorry, it's early here. I think Charlie's a much more handsome version of the Trivago guy. He's got that rugged look going on. The hair also is nicely, just the right amount of messiness. And
I was surprised he was 40. I thought he was still in his early 30s.
I was surprised he has kids. I thought he was footloose and fancy free. Not that he gave me that impression. But yeah. Did you meet Olaf?
No.
Okay, I know Olaf from Trust, which is now Sabre. Malta is there from Trivago. I don't know Malta, but I know of him. Did you speak to Wilco?
Yes. So I was on stage with Wilco and with Andrew Mossy.
Oh, okay, from Rate Tiger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, eRev Max now, yeah? I think he gets...
Well, I know it's eRev Max, and that's fine for them. They're Rate Tiger. They're Rate Tiger to me, I'm sorry. I see Peter's there from Booking. I've met him just once. And you know what? As I scroll through the list of speakers, were there more speakers?
You would have been at home.
Were there more speakers than guests in the audience, or what? Because
there was about 10,000 people.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's huge.
Oh, okay.
It's huge.
Oh, so this is not a small little regional circus thing.
No. I would put it actually on par with ITB Asia.
ITB Asia, okay.
But you only had there was about 50 vendors that could showcase their technology or anything else. You had
hand-picked and paying for the privilege.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a game. That's a game on any trade show, right?
Yeah.
But the speakers were not the vendors, so to speak. Not all of them were. The typical thing is you pay and then you get a slot.
Pay to play. Yeah.
But essentially, those really good speakers, good sessions, and a nice mix out of Italian and non-Italian. So you had some, when it came to the startup scene, they had a lot of Italian.
So the content was English or Italian, right? Depending on the panel.
Yeah, correct. And then you had those open booth kind of events. So you had the big halls. There was 4 big halls that could hold 250 each. And then you had the smaller ones, like the tech corners at ITB.
Yes. Yeah.
Those ones. So they were open, a bit like a speaker's corner in London. And you had a 15-20 minute pitch. Fantastic. The tech work, the way it was organized. Superb event, I have to say.
Cool. I can see Daniele Di Bella is there. I know him. Good guy, ex-TripAdvisor, now with OneUp. Did you get a chance to meet him? Very tall guy.
I saw him, but we didn't interact. So it was a hi and bye. I met Alessandra.
Now, you know what? Carlo Fontana, you probably didn't meet him, did you?
No, I saw the Hoxtel guys. But not, again, it's walking by saying hi.
Okay.
Not from a direct.
Very nice guy. I know him. He owns 2 hotels, one in Milan, one in Lugano, and clients of ours. So yeah, very, very good operator. Hotel person who has a passion for tech. Now, did they refer to you as Fabiani?
It was
Fabio,
really, no, it was really,
it
was really weird. It was, people would actually use or say my name as it is, Fabian.
Okay.
Right? But I'm so used to English-speaking countries that I introduced myself as Fabian. And they found that a bit weird. And they were like, no, you're Fabian. I said, I know I'm Fabian, but...
Well, you might be Fabio or Fabrizio for me today, just to keep up the Italian flavor. But yeah, look, okay, I didn't realize it's such a big deal. This is, there's Andrew.
There's Andrew, yeah.
Is Andrew Italian? Morsi?
No, he's Egyptian American, but he speaks fluent Italian.
Okay.
He lived in Florence for a couple of years.
Va bene. Wow, well, definitely a cast of thousands here. And well, welcome. It's nice to be connected to you. I feel like you're almost in the next room because we're only 1 hour time zone difference, yeah. And we've done something a bit naughty. We've started a little bit earlier.
Oh no!
But I guess we can, right? Because, like, honestly, I was talking to some people early this week, who are on the Bay Area. They're on the West Coast, and they were saying, "Hey, we really wanted to join the live podcast, but it's 11 p.m. on a Friday." And I said, look, honestly, if you are on a Friday at 11 p.m. watching our live podcast, you need to get a live.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catch you up on YouTube. And I think we need to make that a little bit more clear that, by the way, it's not just live, but you can watch it like Netflix, but on YouTube.
I had somebody come up to me and say, I love your show.
Yeah.
Comparable to Beavis and Butthead.
No, I think we've at least got 10 or 15 viewers now, and actually some subscribers on the channel too.
Nice.
So, by the way, Andrew Smith at Agoda, Eric Hengen from Oki app, both asked for a audio version of the podcast. So that's happening, guys. It's a 5-minute job. We'll be uploading it to our SoundCloud account. But the reason I haven't done it yet is you listen to other podcasts that they'll have this like nice little 20-second musical intro and whatever else rather than bang. So maybe we have to come up with an intro or an outro. But anyway, we'll be doing that. And once we do, you can then listen to that as you cycle your bike around or you're in the gym doing your whatever you do, your jazzercise. Anyway,
you jazzercise? By the way, when we're cutting those things, I think when we cut those things again into little mini things, the first one should be the bloopers and the banter.
Well, yeah, maybe.
We always have that banter in the beginning, and then we're actually going down to business.
Yes, but okay. But you know what? There is no bloopers or outtakes. This is a live recording. This is no script, unscripted. We do some slide preps just to, we have a structure.
Yeah.
We have a theme, which this week is distribution in a blockchain world. So obviously that we're focused, but and this is what I like about this medium. There's no there's PowerPoint slides, but I'm not reading a script. I don't think you're reading a script either.
No, and I think going forward, we have a couple of surprises in regards to secret guests.
Special guests, yeah.
Special guest on the show. And I love the way what you did with the
logo.
changing. It looks very, I've tried to look at it and say like, what does it remind me of? And it's kind of Star Wars. It makes us Jedis.
Well, you are my Obi-Wan Kenobi. What does that make me? Padawan?
I have no idea. I'm still a fan of the old ones.
Me too.
I have to say down to earth, the really old one, the really cheesy ones.
Yeah, me too.
Where the very subtle humor, not in your face humor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what does this button over here do? Oh, okay, I can see.
Show small, so something.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, you want to start? Should we get going?
Yeah, so we had a lot of discussions about small hoteliers last week.
Yes.
And essentially people were asking us, okay, so, but how does it all flow through? What's happening? What are the complexities that we need to be aware of? So we decided to put up a little graph to show you how your little bar rates or your pricing structure actually goes through the different layers of distribution. So it doesn't mean that you have to follow all of those or do all of those, but it means that you understand where it actually ends up and what is closed user versus non-closed user. What do those guys talk about when they talk about geofencing stuff or mobile or anything else like this? So if you hit the button, a typical pricing structure in the hotel would essentially look like you have a bar rate, a best available rate or flexible rate, whatever you want to call it. And then you would have generally a percentage off on a saver or promotion. And then you whack money on top for a value package or breakfast. That's essentially what you have in a hotel pricing structure. Now, when you change that one bar rate, you're actually changing 5 rates there because you have them built as derivatives. And that's most of the time just for productivity gains. To say, I don't want to update 10 different room types with 10 different rates and 10 different rate codes. I click that one button and it's all done for me. But what you need to understand is if you click that button again, it goes over into your offline world. And believe me, there's still an offline world out there.
No, I know.
Even though they're consolidating like crazy, hotel beds literally going on a shopping spree before Christmas. You have the corporate, the static and dynamic, and I know there's still, since I think when I started 15 years ago or something like that, we already talked about dynamic corporate pricing and how it's the best thing in the world, and they all do it in Asia. And then I went to Asia and everybody was kind of like dynamic corporate pricing. No, but you guys in Europe do that, right? And we're like, okay, maybe there's a mismatch of what we're actually doing.
Yeah, well, right. on that topic, we were at a conference, or my colleague was at a conference in Copenhagen, and they were talking, the topic came up about rate parity, and they were shocked that in Germany and in France and Italy and other markets, rate parity has been made illegal, and they were like horrified that they weren't aware, and that hotels were actually able to price their rooms how they wish. But anyway, that's a sidetrack. It's still, there's still very many differences between different geography, different hotel markets. And the perception of what they can and can't do.
So where it becomes interesting for us is the dynamic wholesale and static wholesale rate. And we're in a kind of transition phase. So traditional wholesalers would have static rates, meaning 12 months out, you give them a by day of week, possibly weekday, weekend, by seasonality kind of rate. Normally in a half twin format. So my half twin is that, my single is that, and then you calculate your items from it.
Half twin?
Yeah, normally you gave some of those rates as half twin rates.
Like a single person, one person?
No, you had a single person in a room rate, and then you had a half twin. So in case they want to do for groups sharing,
okay,
that was even. So essentially it was a way of combining the group with the FIT stuff.
Okay, got it.
And then you have the dynamic wholesale, and a lot of them have now internal targets to say, okay, in 2017 to 18, we want to shift up to 40-50% from static to dynamic. And it makes sense from a business perspective on their side, because if the hotel prices down, the static to bar rate will shrink. So essentially they either become uncompetitive or their margin reduces. So what they're doing is they can then switch over to a dynamic model and still get that whack. Okay. And if the prices go up in the hotel, then of course they get the benefit on the on the static rates. What it means for hotels is when you ask for the production of dynamic versus static, don't get too happy about it, because it's completely out of your control. It's minus allocations, fair enough, there's some of it, but essentially those guys will either use one or the other to maximize their own opportunities and profits. Right? Now let's go to the online world. Okay. Now in the online world, you have desktop, and I put desktop in there because most of your agreements are most probably written in 2010, 2012, and then you had some updates to the terms and conditions. But you will have a lot of it still rate parity being around your desktop rates.
Okay.
Publicly available rates.
Yeah, unqualified.
Right? Unqualified, correct. Well, even qualified. So, unqualified in the sense of you're not showing any preference. You're just Joe Block from somewhere.
Exactly.
Now, what they have done also, and what they have on top of us, they can put packages together, so room and flights, and it becomes interesting in destinations like islands. Strong international for Australia, because people want this. I don't want to go and figure out. 74% of people dread the thought of figuring out the details of their travel. So if I offer you the possibility of saying, hey, room and flight together as a package, they'll take it. And Expedia, Booking.com, so on and so forth, year after year, show that there's a strong international growth. Generally not the domestic one. Yeah. It's generally international. Now, for us, it means another discount. Right? You want to participate, I need to give you another discount in order to match them up. So we are again at the receiving end.
Have you ever, just by the way, have you ever booked a package which is room and flight combined?
I've even gone further and did an all-inclusive one. I remember when I worked in the UK and I was paid £450 a month.
What was your role?
A receptionist.
Okay.
And I lived above reception.
What year are we talking about here? The 90s?
Oh, come on. Not the 90s, 2000.
Okay.
2004 or something. 2004.
Yeah.
And essentially, I went on a holiday to, where did I go? I think, was it Turkey? Or was it was either Turkey or Spain. And it was like literally a £200 all-inclusive for 1 week.
Flights, meals, drinks.
Everything.
All alcoholic drinks?
Yeah. Well, the local stuff, right? The one that you look at and you get a headache.
Sangria, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move it on.
Yeah.
So then we're coming into territory of closed user groups. And closed user groups, generally, you can separate a bit faster.
Sorry. Go back.
Oh.
This goes into the blooper reel, definitely. Tell me when to stop and pause.
Just click more.
Okay, there's a bit of a buffer here.
And then
one more, right?
One more.
Okay.
So essentially we're going into closed user group, and you can separate that into three: mobile or device user groups, okay, private sales, and geofenced. Now the interesting part is if you call your market manager and you ask him what mobile actually means, you might get different responses. Just if you have nothing to do, just go for it.
Okay. Troll them, yeah. Geofence
just means if you're from China, if you're from Australia, you get two different rates, or you see different rates. Yeah. And we're going to that. And then the private sale is really just, hey, do you want to be one of my 120 million members? Just give me your email address. Right?
On that subject, by the way, when I speak with hotels and I mention that you can do geo IP based pricing, some react like, oh my God, we can't do that. I mean, it's optional, right? But others are like, oh, perfect. This is great. We've been wanting to do it. Like, where does the shock come from? Why would hotels be mortified at the suggestion that you have the ability to do geo IP pricing?
If you think about it, it's discrimination.
Wow.
Right?
It's marketing.
It's marketing or pricing, you can boil down, is always discrimination, because somebody will get something that the other guy doesn't get, right?
Okay.
I don't understand why somebody would be averse to driving a certain market and I give them a special, right? It needs to be properly fenced. It needs to be properly controlled.
Yeah.
But let's look at the naughty stuff some of the OTAs do. And they will most probably say it's not naughty, it's nice.
Okay.
So both Expedia and Booking.com, and I'm just mentioning the big ones. So if you click that button, they have something called a 24-hour hold. They might name it differently, but it essentially means that if I book a prepaid rate, I can still cancel within 24 hours. And what they then do is they have programs that you either have to opt out or opt in, right? And sometimes it's hidden in one of the extranets, and sometimes it's you got to call them directly. Guys, don't participate. It's a battle between Priceline, Expedia, and the other OTAs. Not your battle. If you have a promotion out there that is prepaid, it's prepaid. They will fund the bill. It's their fight with the guest, not yours. Okay. You got to make sure you're out of that program. Because otherwise they'll come and say, thank you very much for canceling this guest free of charge. And you kind of go like, well, I don't. At Tunotels, when I worked with Tunotels, we only had prepaid rates to start off with.
I know, I remember.
So can you imagine when I got 100 emails a day saying like, oh, thank you very much for the 24-hour hold, and all those guests were able to cancel. And I was like, no. I said, no way. It's good for me. I just made extra money. But so what they then do is they equally buy from each other. And it's, if you hover over, so you can kind of show, I can't see the lines really. So essentially you have the wholesaler on the top left, and then you have a OTA, let's call Expedia at the bottom right, right? Yeah. Now, in the bottom left corner, you have an unknown OTA who wants to make an impact. For example, Traveloka. It's one of the unicorns of travel out of Indonesia. So what they did to start off with is they didn't contact hotels directly from a contracting perspective. So what they did is they bought off Expedia and they bought off the wholesalers and then put it through as a private sale. And the hotel would either get it through as an Expedia or a wholesale booking. So you wouldn't even know. And where it becomes interesting is when I got a phone call from Traveloka telling me I've got 1,000 rooms for you. And I said, oh, that's really great. And then Hotelbeds called me and said, Fabian, we've got 1,000 rooms for you. And I said, guys, I'm confused because I can only see 1,000 rooms, right? But I should have 2,000. Well, it was essentially Traveloka buying off the wholesalers, and I would get it in as a wholesale rate.
Okay.
Until they came and said, like, by the way, now that we showed you we can deliver 1,000 rooms in an online space, how about you give us 15%? Right? Very clever.
I think Expedia actually have invested in Traveloka.
340 million, I believe.
Yeah.
So then we're going into geofence pricing now, and here again we have separations. Okay. So we've got the guy by IP address, and then we got the guy who do it by point of sale. Point of sale means you want to go to Bali, you type in .com.au, you get a better rate than if you put .com.sg. Got it. Right? If you click the button. Now, those are the two things. So the IP address one is actually okay because it's based on where you actually are with minor variations. The closed user group is essentially a bit naughty because you can just literally look and see how do things differently work. So now, true story, I did a geofence promotion and I wanted to drive my China market. So I gave Agoda a privileged members, $120 million, 120 million members, 10%. It literally did not take 24 hours.
For a specific date range, right?
Yeah, but for China only.
Okay, got it.
Not even within 24 hours, I get a phone call from C-Trip, really angry, telling me, how on earth would I give Agoda 10%?
Wow.
And I was just like, how do you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we buy inventory from Agoda.
Well, they buy inventory from everybody.
Yeah, but they bought it at a cheaper rate, and that's why they got really cranky. Okay. So then I said, like, well, tough luck. So what C-Trip then did, and if you click once more, they essentially went and bought static wholesale allocations and put them through as a private sale.
Did I click there? Okay.
That's the complexities of today.
Yes. Well, it's complex for sure, but it's reality. I think we're not just geeking out here, showing lots of lines and boxes just for the sake of it, right? This is a visualization, and you've just described what is hotel online distribution and pricing today.
Yeah.
That's reality. Very cool. Hey, by the way, I just remembered, can you look at LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever to see if there's any questions as we go along? Only because, well, actually, we probably won't because we started half an hour early or 45 minutes early. But, you know, we just sometimes get questions there that we miss. But anyway, so the pricing complexities. Is there a big difference between Europe, Asia, and US? Because you've worked in all those three geographies. I feel like US is less complicated because it's kind of like you're on GDS and 3 big OTAs and that's it.
Yeah, and they have a very heavy domestic travel.
Okay.
Right, so it makes it easier. So your geo pricing would be, I give Chicago a different rate than I give New York.
Okay.
Right? But you wouldn't really do that.
Right.
Because there's no differentiation on that point of view. But the complexities become differently because the buying behaviors, for example, people talk about the Asian traveler. There is no Asian traveler.
That's right.
Right? There is 11 countries, I believe, in ASEAN. Then you have China. Then you have other Asian countries in the north and in the south, plus Australia. They're so different from a culturally perspective in the way they buy and do and go about business that it's not like, oh yeah, let me get the Asian traveler. Well, which one do you want?
Yeah.
Right. It's the same like saying, oh, let's move into China. Well, China might be a country on the map, but if you go in there, it's actually little countries with completely different, not languages, but completely different dialects and ways of going about things. And people think China, they go, oh, Beijing and Shanghai. Well, what about the other 20 million cities that have more than 50 million inhabitants?
Exactly. So are we done with pricing complexity?
Yeah, we're done with pricing.
Okay, so in the news this week, Smart Travel News, the Spanish publication, which I like to, well, it's in my daily inbox.
Yeah, you love this one, huh?
I do. You know what? It forces me to keep up my Spanish. So that's another reason. Plus, it's actually good content. I like what they do. I like the format. And often what they do is they source other news articles and they translate it and reformat it into Spanish. So this week, on Tuesday, they sourced a survey from Booking.com, and Booking.com had published the best tech hotels in the world.
Best tech hotels?
Yes, best tech hotels that offer the best technology experience for tech-savvy consumers, according to the survey. So that got my attention, and this is the original publication, which was actually the week before. So it was 1 week old. It was news for me this week, but the actual original source of the publication was the week before from Booking.com. Now, what I'm going to do, top tech stays for obsessed travelers. Let me just go into the Booking.com page. There it is. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the top stays for tech obsessed travelers, according to Booking.com.
Yeah.
And it was at least 18,000 people that were surveyed. So it's a pretty decent survey now.
Wow, 18,000 is a pretty significant one, eh?
Yes, exactly. And they break it down by where the countries the guests were from. Now, first, they list Citizen M here, which...
That doesn't surprise me.
Well, you know, I've stayed in one of the Amsterdam properties and there was a kiosk type check-in. But they list here, there's a summary of why they are in this list. So
what is a moon pad?
Well, exactly. They've each self check-in computer, and each room is complete with a mood pad. Basically, it's a tablet where you can.
Is it mood or moon?
Moon.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it should be mood, but maybe that's a typo. But you can control the blinds, change the temperature, change your lighting.
But that's silly, no?
Also have information about the hotel, and it's a device. Now, in 1993, were you born? You were born, yeah. I don't know.
Dude, I would be like 15.
Okay, so I don't know.
I'd be a really old-looking 15.
Okay, So in 1993, I was lucky enough to stay in the Peninsula Hotel in New York for 5 days. And they had an in-room console, which was called Incom. And I looked up Incom. I looked to see, is Incom still, does it exist? They've been acquired by a company called Honeywell.
Oh, Honeywell is big.
Yeah, but Incom, back in 93, was a little desktop console thing where I could, and I played with it. I could turn the lights on and off. I could open the curtains, close the curtains. It automatically set the temperature out. But this was 1993. So we're 2017.
They still have that. I went to the one in Hong Kong, and they had exactly that pad.
Yeah. Okay. So what I want to highlight here is, look, I like Citizen M. It's a great brand. I love their, a lot about the brand. But they made this list because of a moon pad, which I experienced in 93. Now, Virgin Hotels in Chicago, they have an app. They call the app Lucy. And basically with the app, you can do check-in, check-out, which is cool, change temperature in your room, customize minibar. But you can also e-meet and chat with other hotel guests. I'm not sure about that. It seems a little bit creepy.
Yeah, same. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you walk through the lobby and there's a good-looking guy like you walking through the lobby, and all of a sudden it's like ping, 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 ping.
Yeah, I just found it interesting. Didn't KLM try to roll out in-seat chat, or you can pick a traveler?
Do you remember in-seat was already long time ago when I flew to Australia, my studies. That would have been 2000. You were able to call from one seat to the other. You just dialed the seat number. You know, when you had those big, and then you could swipe your.
Yeah, but I think KLM were trying to do it before you fly. You can choose who you sit next to.
Oh yeah. That was a marketing thing, you know.
And I
remember.
I absolutely don't want anyone to choose to sit next to me. Not that they would, but I kind of don't want to talk on a plane. I want to tune out, watch a movie, or do my work.
Yeah.
Now, the Hotel Blow Up Hall in Poznan, Poland, not familiar with this at all, but it makes the list because of digital art. Your iPhone can be your room key. But then they've got an LCD satellite TV, which I guess if you want to click through 1,000 different TV channels,
Who still has LCDs? It's bring your own device, no?
Yeah, so they're in the list because of that. I'm not hating, by the way. Now, Sentosa, the W, in your backyard, mate. Firstly, have you ever stayed there? We've stayed at Sentosa, but
we stayed at Sentosa, but we stayed at the Shangri-La.
That's right. Now they've
we stayed there together. We had our rooms next to each other.
That's right. They were good times. Now they make the list because they've got underwater speakers in the pool, which personally I quite like. I think that's pretty cool.
I would love to hear how that sounds actually.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And if you want to have a party, the Wow Suite comes with its own private DJ booth.
Nice.
Which sounds pretty cool. Okay, again, your mobile phone, your smartphone can unlock your door.
Yeah.
And then look at this. Guests can enjoy complimentary use of a smartphone with unlimited Wi-Fi and local calls.
We call that handy.
Handy. Can you get a complimentary handy in your Wow Suite?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, Peninsula New York. Sorry, Peninsula.
I met somebody, she introduced Francesca. I met her yesterday at the show, and she said like, hi.
Francesca Stacchi.
Yeah. And then she said like, oh, I'm doing handy now. And I said, okay, good for you.
She's lovely.
Oh my God, she has very good reputation.
She's a good friend. So Peninsula Tokyo, they're in the list. Look at this. You get unlimited internet radio.
Oh, very nice.
I've got unlimited internet radio already on my phone, on my device. But anyway, I think for some travelers, maybe that's a special experience. They only experience in the hotel. Large flat screen TV. Okay, great. A nail polish dryer.
Nice. Whoa. I have to stay there. I want to know. But it's this. Okay, no. Okay.
Lowe's in Seattle, they make it because, you don't have to bother with housekeeping. There's heat sensors in the room. So when you're out of the room, they know it's time to clean the room. Incom's been doing that since 1993.
Oh my God.
Now, actually, for golf fanatics, I don't play golf, by the way. You have a virtual golf club where you can play with real clubs. And guess what? One of our subscribers to our YouTube channel, Ralph Mellis, shout out to Ralph Mellis, ex-GTA, currently with Derbysoft. I think he might like this, or maybe not. Why don't you go out of your room and swing a club in the fresh air or play actual golf? But I'll have to ask Ralph whether he would be attracted to stay at Lowe's because he's a golfer and there's a virtual golf club. Eccleston Square Hotel in London, they've got, and there's a pad there to control the room. It seems like it's pretty easy to make this list, right? If you've got...
It's a rubbish list.
Yeah.
It's like fancy little pants gimmicks.
Yeah.
I mean, look there. Okay, so the best thing in there is the biggest, I think the most phenomenal way hotels were screwed in technology over the last couple of years was the docking stations for the iPhone.
Yes.
And literally everybody bought them and then they changed the plug.
Yeah.
Later. So now you have those.
Yeah.
Now you have those things with like really weird connectors on top.
Yes.
Like I would say, you want to make the list, go to IKEA, buy those, the self-charging furniture that IKEA has?
No.
Okay. So IKEA has self-charging furniture. So essentially what it is you buy normal furniture, but it has wireless charging stations built in. So when you sit somewhere, you just put your phone on the table and it will charge.
I've never used wireless charging. Is it fast as fast as plugging it in, or is it slower?
It's a bit slower, but it's more convenient because I have a power bank, and literally like it's like a pad like this, same size as my phone, and you don't need any cable. So what you can do is you can just put it on there, and it works. For me, it works much nicer. Even at home, you don't need to find the plug. You just go and pop it wherever it is.
I mean, we've got plugs always in the kitchen and everyone shares.
Correct.
But I feel like with the wireless charging, I'm just inviting more radiation and Wi-Fi rays. And I'm a little bit old school that way. I don't want any of that kind of gamma radiation. I don't want to turn into the Hulk. So yeah, I'm not hating on it.
Hang on, what is it? Swedish hash? That's a bed.
Yeah,
so they do have a bed. Okay.
Yeah, I need to look up what a Hasten bed is.
Tell us about your bed in Singapore.
Yeah, so I stayed at Yotel. Yeah, well,
they should have made the list.
Yeah, I think so. They have a robot. I don't see any hotels here. But you know what? The Yotel property only opened in October, so maybe this survey was done.
Oh yeah, okay.
But no, the bed was great. I mean, it's adjustable. The room is very, very compact and highly optimized, but super comfortable. Super comfortable.
But what I liked was the fact that you could actually kind of move it up the wall to increase your space.
Yes. In
the room. I thought that was brilliant.
Exactly. If you're working or watching TV. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was pretty cool. Mama Shelter, which is now an Accor brand, I believe. You've got free movies on demand. Yeah, but you have that on your Netflix account, right? So complimentary Wi-Fi and table football. Look, I'm not hating on any of these brands. In fact, I like a lot of these brands. But 18,496 people were surveyed, with more than 1,000 of them from UK, US, Brazil, China, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and it was April to May. 27th of April to 15th of May, that was that survey. So
500 plus?
Sorry.
Each, okay.
Yeah. So, I guess these are all cool properties. I'm just looking at this. When I really looked at it, I thought, gee, it's pretty easy to make this top hotel list for tech-obsessed travelers. You know what I mean? None
of them had a selfie booth. I had a selfie.
No. Actually, one did. I must have scrolled past it. I think it was which property was it? The W Sentosa, I think, has its own. No, I forget which one it is now. One of them has a booth, a photo booth in the room.
But that explains why you actually didn't see this in the news. It wasn't picked up by any English-speaking news because.
Oh, here it is, photo booth. So Mama Shelter Paris has a photo booth in the room. Okay, but a photo booth in the lobby, maybe a photo booth in the bar, in the public areas. I don't know about the room. What are you taking photos of in the room? Maybe that's the point. Maybe that is the point.
Well, I'm in a hotel where I can order a love kit. I'm scared.
What is a love kit, please?
I don't know. I'm too scared to ask.
But you're not. This is a true story. Yeah.
This is a true story. This is a true story of the hotel offering a love kit, and I'm kind of like, this is.
So, shall we kick on?
Yeah, go. Oh, by the way, one that should have made the list, Ovolo.
Tell me about
Ovolo hotels are.
I say Ovolo, but anyway.
Yeah, I have no idea. Ovolo, OVO.
Ovaltine.
Yeah.
Olives.
They are super on the tech stuff, but they're not going down the route of, do the blinds kind of thing, but they do enablement. So hook up to the Wi-Fi, be able to do this, order here, order that. So all the convenience stuff, not the one that drives you bonkers because you have no idea how to figure out the blind thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. I go to the window and I close, I open.
But Fabian,
I open.
When did it become hard to open and close the blinds? Like, really? You know what I would like? One button to turn all the lights off in the room.
Oh my God, it took me 30 minutes to figure out that one. You know that there's this one light that you can never find the button for?
Oh, there's 2 or 3 in my case, but yeah.
And then you end up just switching it off or pulling out the key card.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Okay, so now this week's Startup Watch is a company called Arise. And because we are going to be talking about blockchain, this I thought is very relevant. These guys are a startup, the 2 co-founders. They are essentially launching an online booking platform based on blockchain technology, where both suppliers, in this case, hotel accommodation providers, and then let's say digital companies, travel companies, of course, OTAs and etc. But anyone who has a business, who has a site, who is marketing attractions or tours or anything about the destination where these hotels are located, has the ability then to plug into this platform and offer live rates and availability and content. So I've got a slide here which I've borrowed then from Mozio, which is basically looking at all the different types of players in the online travel space. And so what Arise is looking to do, based on blockchain technology, which you're going to explain to us, is make it very easy for any individual hotel or a small tour operator or destination website to plug in and effectively use this blockchain platform to do smart contracting, as well as the e-commerce element of distributing live rates and availability and content, fulfilling the booking. And one of the elements of this solution that Arise have developed is the ability for the hotelier to dynamically control commission levels. For example, during peak season in demand, you know you're going to fill with enough direct business. Let's bring that commission down to 8%. But in the low season, when you really need the business, let's crank it up to 15% or above. And so that's an element they were talking about. It's very early days. The co-founders, I know one of them quite well. They're both ex Front Desk Anywhere, a cloud PMS out of the Bay Area. And I know that you had spoken to them as well a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so in my gut feeling is very, very lofty ambitions here to, it's admirable. I'm not hating on them at all. I wish them the best of luck. I think it's definitely a complex travel world. And clearly if they get enough adoption on the hotel side as well as the travel side, and those 2 things keep pace, I think it could be very interesting. But what do you think?
I'm on this with you. My point is, whenever everybody tries to have an idea right now and go into the chain, and what we will see in the industry is like all these new things will come up, and then there will be a stagnation where everybody kind of goes like, okay, we haven't really changed anything. Right? All we have done is do Terminator 1, and then we did Terminator 2, and now we're at Terminator 3. but it's kind of the same story, just now revamped with new special effects, right? The problem that I see is they need to play all three sides. So for me, there's three sides in the tech space or in the hotel space. You've got the hoteliers, right? You've got the consumer, and you got the vendors. Vendors, i.e. the technology vendors, enabling the hoteliers to either plug and play through CRSs, PMSs, any kind of tech that is used in a B2B environment.
Yeah, and when you say consumers,
you and me booking travel.
Yeah, they interact with different B2C platforms like an OTA or
correct.
Blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Right. So they're trying to play all three. And my point to them was the hotel guys are relatively easy to say, hey, do you want to sign up and you're not paying any commission, right? Hotel will say, oh, that's fantastic. Easy. But then you're going to the tech guys and you say, hey, tech guys, I'm building this. Are you interested? And the tech guys would go, what's in it for me? Well, nothing really. Okay, then why should I participate? Right? And then even if you jump over that hurdle, how are you going to get the consumer now to book on your site and not the traditional channels?
Well, this is the thing that I say in terms of not blockchain specific, but any brand new, let's call it OTA, any brand new online travel company, because today, at Vertical Booking, back in the day with SiteMinder, every second day, there was a brand new OTA. And you speak to them, we're the best thing since sliced bread. We've got 10 million people out of Turkey or Russia or whatever else. And I wish them the best of luck. But apart from, let's say they get connectivity with all the key players, all the CRSs, all the different channel managers. Okay. But then how does the consumer even know you exist? Where's your marketing spend? Because the tech thing is one thing that's relatively easy to solve, the connectivity. But then look at the big advertising budgets from Priceline Group and Expedia, for example, not just online, but also offline. That's where the battle is being played right now, not necessarily, oh, once I connect to this channel manager that I'm sorted. Do you know what I mean?
I think the biggest chance, from what you said from the idea, the one that has legs is the commission stuff. Okay.
Dynamic commissioning, yes.
Dynamic commissioning. I think that has an interesting angle to it, but again, not for the OTA needs to be able to say, let's play that game.
True.
You know what I mean?
And then let's say the big OTAs probably would say, go away with that silly idea. But I think Arise gives potential or opens up or democratizes the ability for travel brands to connect and do business with anybody else on the hotel side that's also on that blockchain platform. And so I love that. I think it's a very virtuous inspiration, virtuous goal. Let's see. Let's keep tabs on this and see how it progresses. And I also think from a revenue management perspective, the RMS companies are probably in the best position to dynamically calculate what that commission level should be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like your cost of acquisition that you would essentially do. And then it doesn't matter where it comes from, because essentially at the moment we're all talking about driving direct, right? But if you really look at it, me as a hotelier, if I could dynamically do a cost of acquisition across any of the channels, it doesn't really matter, right? If you book through the OTA, because all I would do is I would go out there and say, hey, today you want to stay at my hotel, I give you 8%.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice.
If you don't want it, don't sell me, but somebody else will sell me at 8%.
I like that.
But you're right. In the off season, people can say, you know what, instead of giving 50% discount to my consumers, I give you 50% commission to bring that consumer. Now, worst case, which I believe will happen, is then they give 50% discount and then a 50% commission on that. Which again, then the OTA will say like, so you're not selling at 100, you're only selling at 50, and now you're giving me $25.
Yeah.
Normally, if you'd sell at 100 at a 25% commission, I make the same kind of money.
Yes.
And then watchdogs will get involved and say, but the consumer does not get the best deal.
Yes.
It'll all, when we talk about blockchain, I think the future of blockchain is private chains. And then you hook into a neural network where all the private chains can interact with each other.
You lost me at neural, but this is a perfect segue into the main topic of today's podcast, which is blockchain. Now, firstly, let me just see if you can, I made a change to the Zoom thing. I think maybe you can hear sound.
Blockchain. It's one of the biggest buzzwords in the tech industry. Say the word blockchain out loud right now, and an executive in Silicon Valley will immediately wet themselves. Here's how it works and why it's important. Explained with Boost Meet Premium Canned Meat. A blockchain is simply a digital ledger or a chronological written list of events which was designed to be unhackable. The entire list of events is called the chain, and every change to the list is a blockchain. A blockchain can keep track of anything: your financial transactions, medical records, sexual conquest, even your bowel movements. The master copy of a blockchain doesn't exist on a single centralized computer. Instead, it exists simultaneously on everyone's computer. And if you want to make a record of something on the blockchain, all participants must agree that the change is valid. This means that anyone who wanted to hack the blockchain or falsify a record would have to hack tons of computers all at once, all over the world at the same time. Blockchain was first used to launch the Bitcoin currency, but it's more than just a tool for you to buy DMT on the dark web. Blockchain has the potential to disrupt any institution, such as the banking industry, that relies on trustworthy records. That includes political elections, apps like Uber and Airbnb, medical records, music streaming, the list goes on. The inventor of the web, Tim Berners-Lee, believes that blockchain may even disrupt the internet itself, providing the foundation for a new, more private and secure internet. Isn't that exciting?
That was a fantastic summary of blockchain.
Yeah, and that's blockchain for you in less than 2 minutes. Okay, so 3 things you got to understand in order to hold yourself. Let me give you the baseline so you can hold yourself in conversations. Mm-hmm. So essentially, you got to first of all understand what is the thing, blockchain-y. Mm-hmm. Then you got to look at the distributed ledger part, and then you got to understand a bit of the crypto hashing thing. Now, those are now fancy pants words. Mm-hmm. The hashing stuff, you will see by the examples that I bring, has been around for donkey years. Even in your 1993, even 1980, hashing has been around, right? Okay. So let's start with the blockchain one. Mm-hmm. So essentially, you got to click, mate. You got the individual blocks, and then you got the sequence of it, which is the chain. Now, it's if you click again, it's essentially, imagine it like this. There's different transactions happening, and different chains will have the capabilities of taking 7, 20, whatever you want to have transactions. And what they do is, forget about the Merkle tree and everything else.
Is this anything to do with Angela?
Yeah, it's an Angela tree, yes.
Is it the Deutsche Börse involved here?
Yeah.
What is a Merkle tree?
No, let's not get into what a Merkle tree is. Okay?
Sorry.
Essentially, you will have different transactions. Think of the hash valuing of making you anonymous. Mm-hmm. We then combine them. So we have a combined hash value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will be getting a timestamp. They get combined, and then essentially you create a new block. And that new block then is done and cannot be changed afterwards. And through a process called mining, essentially the network verifies mm-hmm. that chain is accurate, or that block in the chain is accurate, and therefore it can be passed on. If you
and I think that's so transaction could be obviously a hotel booking, or it could be me sending you $20. These are the examples, right?
Yeah. So we'll get there afterwards.
Okay.
So if you go to the next one,
mm-hmm.
Now we got to understand the difference between centralized and decentralized. Centralized is you have a bank in the middle. You have a middleman, mm-hmm. right? Decentralized, on the other end, is essentially you talking peer-to-peer, mm-hmm. let's say. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking peer-to-peer, you don't need a middleman. So it's based on trust. you could actually argue. It's super secure. It's super powerful. And essentially it doesn't.
But is it super secure? Like, I think that's what everyone, myself included, would have a natural skepticism to anything online.
With some like Bitcoin, you want to hack the chain. You got to hack every ledger that ever existed of that chain in order to hack it at the same time. So if somebody builds that kind of technology that is able to hack all people that have Bitcoin, then you have a security threat. But it's impossible. I mean, think about it. The power that you will need is near to nothing. Now, let's move over then to the next slide, where it becomes interesting from a hashing and a crypto perspective, right? So what you see on the left is a book, right? So on the top one, first we have two things. Hashing is a reproducible method of turning data into a small string of numbers, essentially giving you a fingerprint. Right?
Is the metaphor, for example, guest makes a booking, they have a unique reference code for that booking? Is that a similar analogy? It's a unique sequence of numbers and letters?
Yes, you could argue that, but equally you could then say that the person itself could be turned into a number.
Okay.
Right? So but think about it this way. And that becomes important for the travel space. Now, on the top left, and it might not be big enough, you have the War and Peace book.
Oh, yeah.
And those 20 things are book codes, book numbers. They have existed for years, right? To identify a certain book. Now, the second one you might not be able to see has a different number, correct? But the difference is it has a comma, right?
Yeah.
It has a comma. Therefore, it's not the same. Because the first one has War and Peace, this one has War, comma, and Peace. So it gives you a completely new number. Now, look at the next one where it has a little pen and the writing.
Yes.
Now, let's say you want to buy a house, right? That house, you want to make sure that you're not signing anything phony, right? So what it does is it will take this document and put that into that 20 string. If there's just a single comma different in the entire book or document, you will not have the same copy as the other person.
And this is built into the platform, that logic?
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it.
That's a hashing. The crypto part is that you just put cryptography to put additional security layers, right? So that also means that Eric wants to do some business online. So we can now turn Eric, the different facets of Eric, into a, how do you call that? Into a number, right? So that means if I book a hotel room, all I got to produce is that 20 string number for you to know that I'm actually the guy who booked it. Without ever needing to know my name or anything else. So that means you can book for anybody.
Like a barcode?
Yeah, similar.
Wow.
Right? You could argue that. Now on the right-hand side, I just put in there the red fox jumps over the blue dog, and then you do a spelling mistake. It will give you a completely different output. You have another spelling mistake, and again, it gives you a completely different. Coming back to the fact that there's trust, you will 100% know that it is the same transaction on one side and the other. Does that make sense?
Yes, you've got me. So far, this is very much about translating people, assets into a hashtag.
Let's call it a hashtag for Twitter reasons, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, now what?
Okay, next. Now we're going into a life cycle, right? So essentially, you open your wallet, you want to send money to Laura, whoever Laura is, you send it. Now the machine will go through that hashing and looking at the different, how do you call that? Transactions and what it needs to do in order to verify that that transaction is really from you. So imagine it this way. you cannot just add something because everybody else needs to agree that actually Eric just added this. Right?
You mean a transaction into the ledger?
Yeah. So rumors are impossible to be spread, because if I spread a rumor, everybody will go like, well, that's not really what Eric said, because what Eric said is this 20-digit code. Now you're telling me this, it's a different code to what Eric said, because Eric told everybody this is the code. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's a trust. So I don't need a bank anymore that verifies Eric sends money to me. I'll take my cut right now and pass it on to Fabian.
Centralized system, and this is completely decentralized.
Completely decentralized.
The crux of the disruption.
Correct. And when you go decentralized, imagine it like a neural network. Anybody can hook into it, and the more firing power. I mean, there's the big thing about Bitcoin Gold right now is that they're actually mining. You had to have certain programs, and you have to have certain GPUs and big stacks in order to do that.
GPUs? Processing units.
Yeah. So normal computer is CPU, not powerful enough to mine. Right? Bitcoin Gold says, actually, let me flip that over and let everybody be a miner the moment you come in line. Right? So that's great.
Sharing some of your processing power.
Yes, sharing all your processing power. I mean, Storgy, for example, does it with storage. Essentially, you can lend some part of your hard drive to be a storage unit for some of the documents. It gets shredded into a million different pieces. It gets put into 100 million computers. Yeah. And what essentially then happens is when you put that key back in, it reassembles it for you, right? So it's anonymous, it's secure, two things that everybody wants in a digital world, right? True. Because there is so much trolling out there, so much
election hacking.
Election hacking, it's a fake media, it's fake news. Essentially, you can then say, is this a true story or not? Because it has been verified by someone. Now, the distribution ledger, you can have public and private ones.
Okay.
Private ones, you need to be allowed to access that private one, right? IBM has one, TUI has one, WebJet.
I think in New Zealand are starting as well.
Correct. Okay. So in there, because you have security measures around it, you're actually, let's say, able to see who is Eric. Right? On a public one, you wouldn't be able. I would see the 20 digits.
Okay.
So the security concern then comes in if I possibly hack the private ones, and depending on how the private one is set up, that you again have security issues to a certain extent. But it's still you can't do identity fraud anymore.
So Fabian, in the public area, in the public context, does your unique block of 20 digits and characters ever change, or it's always the same?
Well, if your circumstances change, then you will change a new character, right? But from the point of view, if you're creating, let's say, a wallet and you want to buy stuff, that address is tagged to you.
Okay, it's more like, okay, got it. Now, I've got two questions. The first one is from the very basic Googling research that I did. These transactions take 6 to 10 seconds to be confirmed, right? Does that mean that it's not really applicable to the fast speed of online booking transactions? Or
yes and no. I think speed is a bit overrated considering how fast we actually evolve in technology. And generally, yes, it's true. Bitcoin has two things. It hits a couple of transactions into a block, and that block needs to be mined. And there's a transaction speed per second. So a TPS, that's what it is.
More acronyms, love it.
Yeah. And they equally have a limit on how big those transactions can be. So they said transaction cannot be bigger than 1 MB, right? Okay. That means with every transaction having certain kilobytes, you max out once you hit a 1 MB, right? It was designed to keep it agile.
Light, yeah.
Correct. But then you have something like Ethereum, which has increased those transactions from, I think, a 7 to 20. You have somebody like an IOTA who has built a Tangle network, which is, I know. It's let's move on from that.
Yeah.
The point here is that the speed of verification when there was the Status ICO. So Status was a messaging service. They did an ICO and they raised somewhere around 100+ million in under 3 hours.
ICO is an initial coin offering?
Correct.
Is it like an IPO?
It's IPO, same thing.
Okay.
But crowdfunded, right?
Okay.
But don't forget, if you're a scam artist, you just do an ICO, you have people give you money and then you run away.
Okay.
Because it's anonymous, right? Can't really find you.
Okay.
So the point here being, where were we? We're Ethereum, right?
Yes.
Literally, it came to a halt because there was so much demand that the network was overloaded. Mm-hmm. So the speed can be an issue, and was in that sense. But I think based on where we are going from a technology perspective, Visa claims to do 50,000 transactions per second as a hit ceiling, right? You then look at Bitcoin and they kind of do like 7. You have Ethereum who do something around the 20. You have IOTA.
Per second?
Yeah, per second.
Okay.
And then you have others who hit 800, 900, 1,000, 2,000, right? Mm-hmm. But Visa never hits those 56,000. It generally maxes out over Christmas period.
Or Black Friday or whatever.
Yeah, it knocks itself out at about 5,000-6,000, right? So while the theoretical one is up. Now, if that changes, speed will, it's a verification process. So if you want real time, it's not really real time at the moment.
There's some lag. There's some lag there, but that's the compromise for secure, anonymous.
Yeah, correct. But on the other hand, it's for something like offline payments. So if you're a wholesaler and you want to invoice, that's perfect. That's a perfect system for hotels to say, I'll send you that invoice, you send me that invoice, but we can bypass the bank.
And that's part of this Arise platform that they also facilitate.
Correct. I think that's the easiest one in.
Smart contracting, I think they call it.
Yeah, so let's go into smart contracting. If you click once more. Mm-hmm. So the cool thing about smart contracting is the traditional contracts are about 1 to 3 days. So smart contracts are literally minutes, right? You have to do manual. This is automatic remittances because of the trust and the decentralization. Mm-hmm. It kind of works hand in hand. Mm-hmm. The escrow, let's skip that. The fraction of the cost, you don't need to pay a middleman. I don't have staff members. It's my computer talking to your computer. It's my mobile wallet talking to your mobile wallet. Okay. You have a digital signature, right? So I don't need to sign anything because as we look through the hashing process, I have identified you already and that's you. So if something changes, it's not you, right? So if you do a blind date, you can essentially say, you are really the person on the blind date that I want to meet versus somebody else. And you might not require lawyers, right? For any kind of thing, because you're validating that everything is true. You don't need a stamp for that. In Australia, when you apply for something, you always need to have somebody writing on the back.
Justice of the peace to sign things off.
Yeah, to say like, okay, this is a true photograph of Eric, right? And if you don't have Australians or doctors or anything else in your back pocket, you kind of have to go to a legal person, right? So for that, it's perfect. I mean, the Australian government should take that on and directly say, okay, pow, done.
So I'm going to ask a question that may be silly, but that's okay. In any contract, you have terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Who gets to write those T's and C's?
Well, somebody's still got to write, but the point, nobody will take over that writing piece part, right? But what it will take over is that you will have the same copy as that was written. Oh, okay. So you're not going to be scared that there's a fraudulent in between.
It's always an apples to apples thing. No one's changed clause 3.2.
Correct. Okay. And if you did, like let's say you sent me, Google Docs would go bonkers.
What do you mean?
Like, let's say you upload something. Right. And it has the number ABC. Now I go in there and I add my comment. ABC is not the same. Now we have a new version, which is called XYZ. Okay. So ABC is redundant. But what it also means is I can go back in time to ABC and you know this he says, she says kind of thing,
yeah,
that will be completely eliminated, because I can really go back and say, no, that's what you said. Look here. You can't, you can't take it off. So the most beautiful thing for me on the blockchain is you can add but not take out.
Okay. Or you can't edit.
Yeah, it's a bit like when you say this one thing that you can never take back.
Okay.
That's essentially the blockchain. It's like how you put it on there, and it will be forever ingrained in their heads.
Huh.
It's a cool little thing, but again, there's so much hype, and there's so many people trying to recreate or solve problems that are not problems.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you know? I've seen some online public posts about Winding Tree. What is that?
Winding Tree, essentially, I think in a nutshell, they're trying to recreate the GDS, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it a competitor to Arise, or different thing altogether?
I think they all play in the same space. They all try to rebuild. What they want to build is a technology hub where everybody can develop themselves into. Right? A bit like a marketplace. You could argue Snapshot is already doing that.
Okay.
Right? Okay. From that perspective.
So people having apps on top of a platform which already has content and inventory and transactions.
Correct.
Okay.
But the bad thing about the entire thing is that at the moment you have a lot of cryptocurrencies out there, and the currency is at the moment the one where high speculations are happening. I mean, look at Bitcoin hitting over 10,000, and now it lost 25 or 30% in 2 days.
I don't follow it, but a question for you, because what I do read in the news, albeit regular news, not deep techie news, is that the Chinese government banned some kind of...
Yeah, they banned the ICOs, but essentially it's... Well, you can't have an ICO, right? You can't do an initial coin offering in China.
Okay, in China.
Well, then you do it outside of China. It's the same as the Americans are trying so hard to regulate an unregulated industry, and I understand why. That a lot of the exchanges where you can actually trade currencies are now saying, I'm sorry, you're American, you can't jump on this bandwagon anymore.
Okay.
So it's
control it.
They're trying to control it, but it's, of course you want to control it because a government at the end of the day is a centralized environment. It's the epiphany of centralization, right? Including, I mean, if you look at
epitome, I think, of centralization. Epiphany, I think, is an idea. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, essentially the currency, the US dollar, so on and so forth. There is no limit on how many of those I'll put out there. Bitcoin has, I think, 21 something million or billion Bitcoins that are available. Once that's reached, there is no more Bitcoins after that. So it has a physical limit, and therefore it becomes more valuable because you can't just create the next one.
It's like any, like oil and gold have a physical limit, the supply and demand.
Correct.
Okay. So another question, that video you played earlier talked about the decentralized nature of blockchain, and it has the ability to disrupt banks. But Airbnb and Uber were in there. You know, they're smashing the spam, the spiced ham. Well, how could blockchain disrupt Airbnb? Because I think our hoteliers would be like this. Yes. But tell me, is that real? Or I don't understand how it could disrupt Airbnb.
The question is about what you classify as disruption, right? It can again make things more secure by saying you are really the guy that ordered the taxi. So that would be the first thing that comes to mind. From a host to a non-host person, you could equally say, okay, you bought this, so you are that person. It puts the entire fraud aspect out of it. And they can take it further to payment options. Why don't you hook into the Uber stuff, or you can resell your Uber to somebody else because you don't need it, or you Uber Eats, or what's the underlying technology and disruption are relatively loose words used in that video, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, the booking process is relatively straightforward. I hit it here on the chain, and then somebody else will pick it up, and therefore I have a contract and I can validate it.
Yeah.
Right? How they want to do it differently. Of course, the drivers, you could have their identities on there, right? You could verify that when you wait for an Uber and there's 300 other people waiting for that Uber, and the guy comes and says, Eric, and then like 100 people all of a sudden are called Eric. That is a verification perspective.
Yeah.
So
yeah, okay. There's a tenuous link there between how blockchain could or could not potentially disrupt Airbnb. At the end of the day, I think Airbnb, we've discussed before, essentially industrializing, commercializing the art of hospitality.
Yeah.
So giving people with accommodation assets the ability to share or rent or trade online. So I think maybe the communication layer, the trust element of the transactions could maybe be, I mean, Airbnb could leverage blockchain, right? What's stopping them?
Well, they could use it in the sense of, think about the real estate agents, right? You need to pay them in order to sign the lease.
Okay.
You don't need that with blockchain anymore.
Okay.
Right? I don't need anybody to bring me the lease and sign it, because my digital part will do it. So you can essentially say on Airbnb, we now do, I mean, people rent their apartments for a year, right? Why not? Right? So Airbnb could go into the travel agent, in the real estate agent thing, and say, you have a flat and you want to go for 12 months, you can whack it in there, and then somebody will pick it up, and there's a standard lease agreement that you can read, and you can trust it's always the same because it's replicated across all of them. So there's no deviation. It gets flagged the moment you have additional terms that you add. So that could be a major disruption, because then in Singapore, we have 5,000 real estate agents, right? So that could really disrupt the life of the 5,000, because I really don't need you anymore for that then.
You still need someone to show the house and all the rest of it, but the actual contracting element can just be...
Yeah, stamp duty, right? Why should I pay you stamp duty?
It's a government mandate though, isn't it?
Yeah, but he will take a fee on top of that in order. I mean, they generally take a monthly fee. So if you sign in Singapore, they take 1 month's fee.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So 1 month's fee for what? To print out that letter for me to sign, for you to go to stamp, to then come over, and then you have to pay. And why wouldn't I be able to just do that, load it in here, come in here, verify that both of us are the right people?
Yes.
Done.
Yeah. Hey, the sun's almost up. It's 7:30, 7:38 in the UK. Can you see that behind me?
Yeah, beautiful.
Nice, huh? It was pitch black for most of the podcast. Yeah. I like that. Wow. Are we done on blockchain for now?
Yes. If you have any other questions, please come to...
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions, please, either in the YouTube comments, if you're watching on YouTube, or LinkedIn, which is where we do most of our interaction, or Facebook, maybe. There's different ways.
I was at a dinner at a friend's house the other week, and they have they have kids who are 15, 16.
Yeah.
And I said, so do you guys do Facebook? And she looked at me and was like, why would I do Facebook? And I said, oh, I do apologize. It must be the mid-30s and above kind of era. But I'm already... we've now tried Snapchat.
Yeah.
And people who listen will most probably say, like, that's nothing new. Well, for us, it's really new, and it's actually pretty cool. And it's really annoying that you can't re-look at the messages.
Yeah, I played around with Snapchat. I haven't for the last 2 years, maybe. I definitely don't use Facebook as much as I used to. I'm much more on Instagram. Have
you ever used a messenger? Never used a messenger.
Facebook Messenger?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do, for sure.
Never.
I do.
WhatsApp?
All of it. I use WhatsApp. I use Skype way more than anything else.
Yeah.
Facebook Messenger is great for my ex-colleagues or friends who I've worked with, obviously, and then just pinging them quickly. Because I think, let's imagine a hierarchy of effective communication levels. Now, a unsolicited spam email would be, okay, bottom of the food chain. Then you go up to, let's say, something like a text message or a WhatsApp message. You're going to get response from that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's from your cell to their cell. Then you've got Facebook Messenger messaging. And let's say people, mostly on mobile, are probably checking for any new updates or messages from Facebook. I think you get more of a response that way. So for me, WhatsApp or texting or Facebook messaging, Instagram messaging, way more effective and than traditional email.
Instagram messaging?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm all into Instagram lately, and I'm not a photographer at all. I've got a cool phone. I've got a phone with a good camera, and I love you know my Facebook. I love taking pictures of my food, if it's Facebook worthy, or now it's Instagram worthy. But your very good friend and my very good friend Siva Prasad Gangadaran from Hotel Logics was in Manchester a few weeks ago. We took him out for a lovely lunch in Cheshire at a place called the Frozen Mop. If anyone is in Cheshire and wants a really great Sunday roast at a lovely English pub, the Frozen Mop is schmick. Anyway, I ordered a trio of roast meats and also a duo of pate. Click, Instagram. The week later, the Frozen Mop social media person contacted me and said, hey, really like this photo of the trio of roast meats. Would you mind if we shared this on our Instagram post? I'm like, no, not at all. Go for it. Thank you. And then it appeared. Now, that for me was just a cool experience because I genuinely enjoyed that.
Nice.
Meal. And so I don't link my Facebook and my Instagram. It's just, they're different platforms for different reasons. But Instagram is all about, what I'm seeing around me, whether it's hotel or food and beverage kind of related.
And Facebook is all about, I'm ironing my shirt right now.
Well, it's I've got family in different parts of the world, but it's mostly for my family around the world to, see what we're up to. But anyway, I'm way less engaged with Facebook than I used to be. And I've always been engaged with LinkedIn, and I'm way more engaged with YouTube these days. So for me, this Two Smart Fellas podcast is a simple way for us to chew the fat, as I like to say, talk about all things hotel tech. And for our 3 or 4 viewers out there, I hope you're enjoying it. Except we certainly are, and we're not going to stop. Whether you enjoy it or not is irrelevant. Obviously, the content, I think, is interesting for some people. It's very, very niche. I don't think we'll be challenging any of the hardcore YouTubers out there. Like, my kids like to watch some of the Minecraft YouTubers, where they show different Minecraft scenarios. My kids are 9 and 7. They're all into YouTube for certain, Minecraft topics or whatever. Your kids are a bit younger. They follow YouTubers?
Oh yeah. No, they don't. Well, if you consider My Little Pony or Paw Patrol.
Oh yeah.
Followed? No, they do that. I mean, they have their shows that they like to watch, and then they stick within their channels.
Yeah.
The more bizarre thing is when you sit in a meeting and all of a sudden you get an email recommendation for Peppa Pig. And people look at you and kind of go like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And I go like, sorry, my kids.
Yeah.
But from a marketing perspective, YouTube is going to be very detrimental to the young people.
Well,
because
what content they're watching.
Not only what content, but think about the algorithm. So if I spam you with, there was a thing last year where all the videos did was unpack Christmas presents. And then they would literally take that present, put it to the side, open the next one, unwrap. And the whole video was about the experience of unwrapping, not about the present itself. So we only realized when Rafa took a lot of presents on her birthday, unwrapped, put it to the side, unwrapped, put it to the side. So she didn't care one little bit about the present. Yeah. All she wanted to do is unwrap. And then she was like, where's more presents? I want to unwrap. Right?
Well, I think what you're describing is a term called unboxing.
Yeah, or unboxing.
Now, this is a shout out to Amanda Rosowski from Magnuson Hotels and Resorts. I follow her YouTube channel. I think it's called Unboxing Fox. I'll put the link there anyway. But basically, Amanda's very cool, and she has a YouTube channel which she unboxes different gifts, different things she buys, and it might be 5 to 10 minutes, and essentially shares her experience of a particular retail item or product. That's a thing. When I met her recently and she explained unboxing, I heard boxing. I thought, that's really cool. Yeah, I follow Heather Hart, who's a boxer from Brooklyn in New York. She's looking at me like, huh? And I'm like, boxing, MMA and boxing I follow. And she's like, no, I'm talking about unboxing. I unbox gifts, and it was a new thing for me. But that's for me. Okay, so for me, YouTube, not so much detrimental, because I really see YouTube as a really strong educational platform.
Yeah, but you got to control it.
Sure.
That's the thing. You got to control it, because your kids older, my kids 2 and 4, they don't know what they're watching. They don't know that they're being manipulated in that sense through some marketing gimmicks. That's the problem. Where as parents, you need to watch out and say, okay, you can watch, let's say, cartoons or some of your jingle jangle songs.
Yeah.
But the moment there's something else on the screen, no, you can't. You got to go back to your thing. And the funny thing is, they know.
Yes.
So you can see they're looking at it, and then they kind of look at you as if you're looking. And then you hear and you kind of go like, hang on, what is this? And then nothing. And then they switch, they bring it down and bring up the other one again.
Oh, wow.
Very clever little monkeys.
Dexterous.
Ba-da-da! Those little fingers are easy.
Well, Fabrizio, Fabiano, Fabian, Lieberwolf, Wolfbian. I think that's probably a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Now, you're back in, when do you fly back to Singapore?
This afternoon, in about a couple of hours.
Okay. And when do you land?
Tomorrow.
In time for the weekend?
Well, half weekend gone.
Ah, okay.
That's time zone difference, so it's 8 hours ahead. So it essentially means that I'll be arriving in the afternoon.
Okay, cool. Well, as always, it's a pleasure. And same time, same place next week. Well, next week we'll be back on schedule. Like, we'll start precisely at
and we got a surprise for next week.
Oh, yeah, special guest.
Special guest next week.
He's from New York, right?
Ooh, yeah. He's a legend. He was mentioned in the New York Times recently.
Oh, cool.
He loves whiskey and chicken wings.
Now, is that called, he's a special guest, but is that called a collab? We're collaborating with another YouTuber?
Let's call it a collab.
A collab.
I like that.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
All right, meine liebe Wolf.
Have a wonderful weekend.
You too, mate. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.